So we should be live any second now. And once Facebook tells me we're live, I will say hello to everybody. Okay. So I see us on Facebook. Okay. And I have to turn off the, there I go. There we go. I just had to mute myself on Facebook or else I'm hearing everything that I'm saying coming through my computer. So hello to everybody. I hope we have a good crowd here today. And if you are here, just so we know that Brenda and I are not alone on this Facebook Live, just say hello in the comments, please. Tell me where you are. I'll tell you where I am. I'm Donna Leyens and I am in New Jersey. It's very warm here today, in the 90s, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 90 something. And my guest here today is Brenda Batista. Hey, Brenda. Where are you, Brenda?
I am in Las Vegas, where it is a cool 88 degrees and the sun is hardly out for once. You caught us on a day, like our one day a year where the sun's not shining.
Wow. I think we took your sunshine today. It's shiny, bright here in New Jersey, very hot. Although I think that the heat's going to break tomorrow, but all over the country, there's a heat wave. And I see Teresa is with us and she's in Calverton, New York. Is that upstate New York, Teresa? I'm guessing somewhere upstate. Okay. So if you're here and watching, just give us a shout out, tell us where you are, and we're going to get started. Oh, we've got Chitra. Oh, Chitra, you are, I think, local, right near me. And sitting by the pool. So Chitra is staying cool by the pool. I love that. So wave hello to all your friends at the pool for us too. Oh, Long Island, Teresa. Okay, so not too far from me either. I'm in New Jersey. Oh, and we've got Tanya here with us. And it's only 91 degrees today in Oregon, in Southern Oregon. And Steve is saying hello. All right, great. So let's get started here. And for anybody who doesn't know me, just in case, I am Donna Leyens. I am the co-founder and president of Pumpkin Plan Your Biz, which I co-founded with Mike Michalowicz, who is the author of the book, The Pumpkin Plan, that we all know and love. So what we do at Pumpkin Plan Your Biz is that we recognize that most business coaches and consultants find themselves reinventing the wheel with every client, which produces inconsistent results for their clients and a lot of mental burnout for the coach. So what we do is we offer training and certification in our business growth program that is based on the Pumpkin Plan. And they're amazing strategies. We've been doing this for almost 10 years now. I can hardly believe it. And Brenda is one of our awesome Pumpkin Plan strategists. And I am so happy to have her here with us today. Brenda has been working as a business coach for how many years, Brenda?
Oh,
more than you want to mention?
A long time.
A long time. Oh, okay. I see here in my notes, 25 years, perhaps?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah. That's right. It's
okay.
a long time. I'm seasoned. How's that?
Yeah, exactly. Brenda is well seasoned. And she is the founder of Inspiring Company Culture, where she helps leaders transform their work environment to places where everyone is heard. That would be awesome, to work somewhere where everyone is heard, where everyone is valued and appreciated. And of course, that creates amazing results for the business itself when people feel heard and valued and appreciated. So what we're going to talk about today with Brenda, and I'm so excited about this topic because she gave me a little preview of it. And I said to her, we're going to be talking about the 5 keys to creating an invincible team. And I said, we could spend hours talking about each one of those 5 keys. Now, I promise you, we will not do that. We're going to give you a taste, and you should be able to see in the title, in the notes, a link that Brenda has very generously provided. So she's offering a free gift to everyone who's attending today, which is a leadership voice evaluation. And maybe, Brenda, you could tell us a little later exactly what that is. And then you also get some tools to use for your Invincible journey. So if you want to learn more after the Facebook Live, you can go to that link and connect with Brenda. Okay, so I've just done a lot of talking, and now I'm going to let Brenda do some of the talking. Before I do, I'd just like to know how many of you who are here today with us are in the process of either building a team, or you already have a team and you're hoping to get some tips about how to create better, a better work environment for your team and better results from your team. Just tell us where you are with your teams while we talk. So Brenda, I would first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
And my first question is, what are the 5 keys to an invincible team?
Yeah. So this is a question that takes some time to find the answer, because I think we all do bits and pieces. But really it's 5 things that you really should address in this order, and you'll see the reasoning we could talk about a little bit later. The first is communication, being effective with communication. So I'm not talking about frequency alone, but I'm talking about transparency. How are we sharing information that our team needs to know, and not treating it as a needs to know, kind of a special little secret that I hold for somebody else, and if you're not of a certain title, you don't get to know it. That's not a way to create a healthy culture or healthy team. And the reason is because when you go into the second component, which are great relationships, that's an environment where everybody is for each other, meaning we got each other's back. If you get stuck on a project and you need help, you can come to me and say, hey, Brenda, I need some help. What ideas do you have, so that I can get unstuck? And so my job as being there for you means I'm not going to use that against you later to say, oh my God, Donna doesn't know what she's doing. You guys, she's incompetent. No, right? That creates drama. And that's where a lot of teams end up stuck in that drama churn, right? You just can't get past that. And then the third part is alignment. So you have to get through the relationships. So you all get aligned on your efforts. Where are we going? Why are we doing this?
Oh, Brenda, you seem to be frozen. Uh-oh. Internet issues, perhaps. Okay. So I'm hoping, oh, there you are. Okay. You
Okay.
froze up there, Brenda.
Okay. Sorry about that.
You said alignment and then you
I
froze.
said alignment. Yeah. So that people know, needed.
You know what? I think you're having a little internet issues. I don't know if there's something you can do about it, but
Let
you're
me
definitely cutting out.
switch, because it's showing me it's connected on both. So let me disconnect that one. Okay. Is that any better?
Well, at the moment, yes. So let's hope it
Well,
stays.
We'll keep going. If need be, I'll pop onto the hotspot and see if we can switch over really fast. But I
Okay.
am hardwired in, so it's weird.
Yeah. Sometimes internet does weird things, but we'll
Yeah.
keep our fingers crossed here.
And I'll go quickly. No, I'll go really fast. No, so alignment is about making sure that our work efforts are in alignment and with our vision. Where are we going? And we're all going to the same spot, which takes us into the fourth thing, which is execution. How do we get stuff done? And this is where a lot of folks like to start, because they think productivity. Executing meaning get stuff done, which is true, but are you getting the right stuff done? If you weren't aligned, then you probably aren't. If you're not for each other and supporting each other, also probably not. You probably got some extra curricular activity going into your productivity. And then if you're not communicating, then people just don't know what they're supposed to be working on. So they create their own agendas. They just, because we like to be busy, right? We just need to get stuff done. And then the fifth key is capability or capacity, unlocking that for each individual that's on the team. And when you do that, you actually do it for the whole team. So the whole team unlocks when you know not just a skill set, but where do you want to be? What's your, I call it the 70-30, meaning what do you 70% of the time just love to do? Do it even if you didn't get paid for it, you do it. Because you want to be operating in that space. But I have to know what that is in order to unlock that and give you the opportunity, the challenges, and the support grow into that direction. So that in total, those are the 5.
Yeah. So what strikes me is when you talk about the first 3, accountability, I'm sorry, communication, relationships, and alignment. I have this vision that if you don't have those 3 things and then you try to go to execution, everybody's rowing in different directions, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's where you get productivity that gets measured by activity without a tie to anything. So this is where people get stuck of, well, we're super busy. We had so much stuff to do. Great. How are you doing on your business objectives? Well, we keep missing them, but we're super busy. We should hire more people. No, you should look at what are you doing with people you have.
That's a really interesting point, that a lot of times when everybody seems busy, the first reaction is, oh, we must need more team members.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
So how do you know when you really do need more team members versus we just don't have the people that we have are just not focusing in on what they're supposed to be doing or what we want them to be doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a combination of, you have to know what your people are working on. And you're doing it from the perspective of going to unlock our capacity. We have capacity, and average team is really functioning at 58% of their capacity. So if you've never
58%.
58%. So if you've never this, you're probably around the upper 50s, maybe 60%. If you've never done an assessment of how are we doing as a team. And that's not uncommon. It's nothing to be ashamed of or anything like it. It just is because we don't focus on it. So it's a combination of understanding and doing the steps of aligning. So what are our objectives, our key objectives? And it's kind of, I think of it as a cascade, right? It's going to cascade down to, well, I'm not responsible for that thing in particular, but I help you get your work done. So that means if I'm doing this step, I'm helping you. So we're working together, right? Instead of pulling it apart. You understand those connections, if you will, through your business activity, and then know how much time people are spending on those in a very real and transparent conversation. And it's not that I'm going to fire you or anything like that. That's not the intent. It's just to get to the bottom of how are we doing, and ask the question, which as a business owner or team lead can be a little daunting. What should we stop doing? Right?
Yeah.
Should
Well,
we
I
outsource
wonder,
or should we get rid of it? Go
I
ahead.
wonder if anyone who's here with us right now is experiencing these same symptoms of, I feel like everybody on my team is maybe going in a different direction, or they're not all working together towards one thing. Like, is anybody experiencing anything similar to that? Just let us know in the chat. But yeah, I could see where, you know, we don't want our people to be robots, but if they're not making progress towards the goals that you talk about in your meetings all the time, the question really is why. It's not necessarily because they're all terrible employees, right?
Right. Right.
It's there's a lack of some sort of clarity going on there.
Exactly. Which takes me back to that communication
Yeah.
part.
So if you start with communication, like if we want to start making our teams more effective and more productive and more happy, harmonious, right? We want all these things, and we feel like that's not happening right now. Where do we start?
Yeah. So that's the reason I offered the free gift, because I really recommend knowing your leadership voice. So I say you have to know yourself to lead yourself, and then you can lead others. So it's a nice target or spiral. As we influence, we have to influence ourselves first, but you have to understand your attributes as a leader. So they are what they are. It's not to say, oh, this, you're a better leader if you're this type of voice versus that type of voice. No, we learn how to adjust, hopefully, as we age, to modify to the situation. What is needed in this situation? But as you look at the 5 communication voices, the 5 leadership voices, they all have strengths and weaknesses. And the one who's the loudest in companies and teams is called a pioneer voice. And this is a strategic thinker. They're a go-getter, they're getter done, and they can be very, very, I'm going to say cutthroat from the standpoint of you're either with me or you're not. Yes or no, very binary. And while that's great for getting business results, not necessarily the case for building a team, where somebody who's on the opposite end, who's a nurturer, this person is presently focused, worried about the team. Hey, how's everybody doing? Oh my God, did you just hear that news? How'd that make you feel? Because they're worried about our harmony.
Right.
The lead, that loud voice is not worried about the harmony. They'll find somebody else that will be harmonious or not. They don't care. They'll do it themselves if they have to. The other person's like, we should go as a team. We really need to work together. And they're more concerned about that. So they won't speak up as much, and they'll hold those ideas back. So maybe they have a great idea, but it'll never get shared or it never gets spoken because it doesn't feel safe. I feel like I'm going to be attacked if I say something that they disagree with. I don't want to do that. Nobody likes that feeling, right? So that's the reason I say to understand, and there are 3 other voices in between, understand those attributes and have your team take that so you understand what works well for them. How do they like to be communicated to? For example, somebody who's presently oriented, they like to know that, that's great, you have a vision, but how are we actually going to get there? Because I'm worried about today. I know where I am today, and I'm glad you have thoughts about the future, but I don't understand how I'm going to grow. So you create worry if you don't address that.
This is so important because if you have a team where people have a lot of different communication styles, there could just be a lot of miscommunication because they're not speaking to each other's styles. Right?
Yep,
so
exactly.
somebody needs to be spoken to in a certain way to get it. And my communication style is different than that, and I'm not adjusting to yours, then we're not communicating well.
Yep.
So,
Exactly.
I know there are a lot of different assessments out there, but what I've heard in general is these kinds of assessments can make all the difference for a business and creating that really well-oiled machine type culture where everybody is communicating and pulling for each other and being collaborative because they now know how to understand each other.
Absolutely. I mean, I took that assessment with my team, and we rearranged the way we ran meetings based off of that. So I had the quietest voices speak first on the agenda. They always went first, and the person with the loudest voice went last. Technically, I don't have the loudest voice, but I was always going last because of title, right? I didn't want to impose, well, Brenda thinks, Brenda said, Brenda did, because then it becomes the Brenda show, and that's not a team, right? So
Yes.
I flipped it. I reordered it so that everybody was speaking first, and we literally ran our agendas that way. And that's how we got that team engagement. And then I had them actually create the mission and vision statement. What do you guys want to be known for? What's the mark we're making in this corporation?
Yes.
We have a title by department. That's great. And corporate has put a definition around it. But what do you guys want to be known for? So when you're telling somebody that we're helping what it is we do, what do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known as the people who do risk assessment? Nah, nobody likes that. I was like, okay, well then let's break it out. We spent a whole day and a half with sticky notes and brainstorming through that. It's like, this is, and came down and created our statement. And then that became what we put, kind of like a tagline, if you will, in our communications, on our emails, like our little group emails, and with presentations we did for internal customers, so that we start to get known for that. And then people start repeating it. It's like, well, when other people were repeating it back to us, we got it down.
Yeah, you're giving them a common purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now we have a common purpose, and it's not just like, oh, I have this task list that I have to complete, but I have a reason for doing this and I'm bought into it because I helped to create it. Right. Like you just talked about a process where everybody had input into it, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And,
Yeah.
and I think, we talk about that a lot in the Pumpkin Plan program about the power of having purpose and the power of your why. And I think you shouldn't assume that it's only like the business owner that has that why. Everybody has their why for wanting to be part of your organization. And hopefully it's more than just that you're giving them a paycheck. So
Exactly. And you unlock their capability. You unlock it by having those conversations. So in that, having them describe their mission and vision, they were letting me know what they wanted to do. But I also built in plans, the process, so you know what we stand for. How do you think you fit in? Where would you like to fit in? That's even a better question.
yes, where would you like to fit in? Like, what are their hopes and dreams for
Yeah.
their career and who they are within your team, within the organization?
Yeah.
Um, so so in terms of like, we hear a lot about company culture and team culture. Is that something that we start like from the day that we hire our first person, or when do we really start working on deciding what we want our team culture to be and how we, create that team culture?
Hmm. I think it starts before you hire. It starts with you as the owner, the lead, because before you make the hire, you have to know what you're expecting. You have to be intentional, because if you're accidental culture, it takes a lot to rebuild it later on,
Yes.
undo stuff, and you'll experience um, you'll experience attributes or things that will happen that are culture related, but you won't recognize it at first. So what I mean by that is turnover.
Turnover. Yeah, that's a big
Voluntary
one.
turnover is a huge one, and one, it's expensive to get people on. So you really want to keep them, and you need to create the culture that attracts who you want to keep. So I'm not an advocate of any who's breathing. That's not what I'm. It's got to be the right fit. There's a right fit for everybody,
Right.
but it may not be your company, and that's okay. But that's another realization of, well, let's say I am that pioneer voice. I only want go get, we're going to get stuff done, just hard charging people. That's nice. Great. So later on, when you hire somebody who's maybe doing accounting or something like that for you, not out there with go mentality, you can't be upset about that, right? Because you needed the skill set. You didn't necessarily hire them to be that go getter. I don't know what a go getter accountant would look like, but you know what I mean. It's like hard charging. So you have to be intentional. You have to make those decisions right up front. And if you don't want everybody participating, then I mean that's your choice. I would just say that from my personal experience and observations and some studies I've seen, you can expect high turnover in those situations. But when you create a culture that's more engaging, that goes away.
Yeah. And I've seen just in my personal experience, I've seen like on a more on a corporate level, like if the leader of a team changes, right? So somebody leaves and a new person comes in, that can change the whole dynamic of a team that was working really well. And if the leadership style of the new person isn't a fit with how that team was operating, that could create a lot of issues, including turnover, right? I'm sure we see that a lot. Like somebody new comes in and people start to leave. And I don't know if there's any way to avoid that. Like, how do you bring somebody in and make sure that they're going to fit with maybe a team that's already operating well?
Yeah. So I think as the business owner, you have the ability to do that, to make sure the replacement fits well, because you're still controlling the culture. You're still um, defining it, right? This is what it is. This is how we operate. And while you are fantastic on paper, you have that awesome resume. You've gotten everything, everywhere I want to go, you have done, and you've, like, skill wise, are the perfect fit. When you start doing those behavioral questions and get into how you treat your people, like, that's not going to work here. Sorry. And if they come back with, but that's the way I get stuff done. Yeah, but that's not how we get stuff done here.
Right.
You know, it's your choice to not do that. I would say on the other side too that the team can have positive peer pressure, meaning influence the person to change the way they're thinking. A lot of experienced managers, leaders will come in and go, I'm not going to change anything. Let me just absorb.
Oh, frozen again, Brenda.
Oh
You froze
no.
again. All right, you're back.
What he's doing. Sorry about that. Um,
It's the heat. Everything's melting.
that could be out here, right? The good leader will come in and absorb what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Brenda is frozen again. So while we wait for Brenda to come back, here you are. Okay, you're back. If anybody has any questions about your team culture or anything related to building a team, or helping your team function better, just type them in the comments, and Brenda will be answering some questions in a few minutes. So please ask your questions. We're happy to address those questions. Okay, so in terms of you've mentioned like productivity and teams like not really living up to their potential.
Mhm.
So what I hate to focus a lot on mistakes, but what's a mistake, or what's the biggest mistake that leaders make when they're trying to help improve the productivity of their team?
Yeah. So, am I frozen? You can hear me?
I can hear you right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So, I switched to my hotspot, so hopefully that'll help. Yeah. So it's I'm going to say taking the bean counting accountability approach, which means activity for activity's sake. And they don't, as the lead, they don't have an understanding of what activity actually makes an impact,
Yeah.
and can come back to somebody and say, you know what, if you got one thing today, one thing done today, just one. I know you have a list of like 50, but one thing, what's the one thing that moves us forward the most?
Yes.
The lead should know that, so they can help guide the individual contributor and help shape the activity. I remember an example of a salesperson that was very, very proud of how many miles he drove, because to him that meant I have activity. Well, yeah, I have to get from here to there. Part of me was like, well, why aren't you flying? But be that as it may, it's like, that's insane. And how many clients did you visit? Well, but I drove, like 800 and some miles this month, and between two states. Okay.
Well, the goal is to get mileage on the car.
Right, to get reimbursement, apparently.
They're not focused on the right thing, apparently.
Right. So it's like, but driving is not the activity. The activity is making the connection. So how are you connecting? And there's this invention called a telephone.
Yeah.
That can use to make a connection. And oh, by the
Yes.
way, and now I would say he was probably not, this was pre-pandemic, so probably not used to, Zoom, that sort of thing. But certainly this is a way to connect. This technology makes the world smaller and increases your productivity. You don't have to physically go every place. And the physical visit now becomes, a treat instead of a mandatory thing. But
Yeah.
it was just mind blowing. And he was one person on a team. When you ask the team their definition of productivity, if there are 20 people, you got 20 different answers.
Yeah.
Like, oh, geez.
And I think that goes for a lot of things, like even going back to when you talked about like the purpose and the mission of the team. A lot of times if you go in, let's say you're coming in as an outside coach and you ask the team, like, everybody write down what you think the company mission is, for example, every person could have a different answer to that because there hasn't been clear communication with the team and with the employees about what the company mission is, because we may have it in our heads and we may think everybody knows it, but if we're not actually out there like kind of driving it home, like I love that you had a tagline when you talked about how like we came up with our purpose and we made it our tagline. We remind ourselves, right? So that we stay focused. I mean, as human beings, I think we need constant reminders of like what our purpose is and what we're working towards, and what our goals are, and all of that. So that's a that's a really good example. Like I was so productive, I drove 800 miles, but did you close any deals? Well,
Right.
no, I didn't know that was that wasn't the purpose, was it? So it seems kind of incredible because we all think, well, everybody should know what their goal is, but people have different ideas about that. So
Well, they do. And then in certain instances, I'll keep picking on the same example, but if I'm busy, you'll leave me alone. You're my boss. You're going to leave me alone because I'm going to ask you, hey, how are things going today? Hey, I can't talk right now. I'm
busy.
driving. I'm on the plane or whatever it is, right? That filler activity. I am so busy. I don't have time to talk to you. And it's really an
Right.
avoidance tactic, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's worse when your boss does that to you, right?
Yeah.
Because that happens too. So we do have a few questions here. So Mahmoud asks regarding learning culture and culture of innovation, how to preserve and promote those behaviors from your first hire. Does that make sense?
Let me see if I can. He can provide his clarification.
Okay, so Mahmoud, maybe a little clarification on that, and we'll go to the next one, which is what are some practical ways to reach out to either the community you're in or into the ether to find your first employee? So Foreknown Creative is currently struggling to find their first employee.
The first employee. So I find that so here's what I would suggest doing as a solopreneur or small company beyond the founders is make a list of things that have to get done, things you're doing, things that need to get done. So you're basically your own personal honey-do list. And you need to look at that and say, what am I really good at? What am I not good at?
Right.
What is absolutely necessary to do? Because you're going to divide this out into what skill set am I going to hire for? And then also you have to ask the follow-up question, what skill set can I afford to hire for? Because there's an affordability part of that. The practicality of it is that.
Yeah.
Then when you interview those folks or post for it, and most people end up with a virtual assistant, kind of the jack of all trades. They're a master of something. You need to find out what it is they want to master.
Yeah.
And that's the question I would ask them during the interviews and reviews of whoever you are searching for, to find out where they want to grow. Because you have a diamond in the rough there. You're hiring them for this little smidge of stuff, but you want them to grow. So you want an idea of where do they want to grow and what do they want to grow into? What kind of pumpkin are they going to become? What do they want to be?
A big giant one.
Big giant one, right? What seed are they working with? And then ask some behavioral questions. What I mean by that is, tell me about a time when you did this, or give them a situation that their answer will reflect whether they're a good fit for your culture.
Yeah, I think what they're experiencing at Forenoon Creative is something that's happening in the just in general right now, which is it's really difficult to find employees.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think a lot, unfortunately, with what happened with the economy and the shutdown, there are a lot of people who have hopefully temporarily, but dropped out of the workforce.
Yeah.
So it is a challenge. I would, and I would just add that in order to like be able to sort through, like if you're getting a lot of applicants, but you can't find good ones, then put some really specific instructions into your ad and only look at the replies that follow your instructions. Because the other people are just like sending out resumes without really reading your description. And when you describe the job, don't glorify it. Talk about the tough parts of the job too in your job description so that only people who want a challenge will show up, and the people who are just looking for a cushy job and don't really want to work hard won't be applying. So there are some little tricks for like actually finding those employees, and use your network, ask around. You could place ads or whatever, but LinkedIn is a place where you can search for people. So it's hard. It's not, there's not, I don't think, a simple answer. But
There's
definitely go to your
Upwork.
network.
Depending on what you need to, there's Upwork as well. That
Upwork,
allows you to put
yeah.
in a nice description. Um, and depending on the level that you need, I would say I wouldn't shy away from going to your local university or colleges and reaching out to
Yeah.
their job placement offices, because I feel for these kids that are coming out right
Yes.
now. It's really, really tough. And you might
That's
find some unhidden talent diamonds in the rough there.
Yeah, and I just had a conversation the other day with a small business owner who had a college intern who they just now hired full time, and they're really excited about the fact that, this person was a great intern and now they've decided to work for them full time. So that is a great way to kind of test out, start with an internship.
Hmm.
And then and the nice thing is that they're really willing to learn, right? So you don't necessarily, you can teach skills to people unless you need like a specialized degree or something to do the job, but a lot of skills can be taught and can be learned, and then you just hire for attitude and fit, somebody who's going to fit into your team, your culture, even if they're your first person, which actually goes back to Mahmoud's question. So what he's talking about is like he has this culture of learning and innovation, and how do you build that from the beginning with your team? Like how do you preserve that?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
Um,
that's the culture he wants to build.
yeah. No, that's a great question. So what I would suggest is, so it's great you have the intention that that's what you want. And I would say, what kind of frameworks are you anticipating having to make sure it happens or it is happening? So how are you making it happen for yourself first? Because that's the kind of construct that you'll want to build out as you start hiring and adding more people. One way I did it as I was adding folks was creating a development plan. So I come from a Big Four consulting background. And one of the things they'd always do with our reviews is, okay, yeah, this is the project and what you're supposed to do, right? Your job description, and a plus one. The plus one is, how do you want to grow? What's your growth area that you see? Because I just, as your lead, gave you things I think you need to work on. And you could have went, I don't want to do that. My passion is over here. Well, you need to have a discussion with somebody, but the only way to find out is, one, to offer it up, and two, to ask the question. So kind of create those structures where it's a safe place for people to say, I want to develop it that way, and then make that part of it. Sometimes some companies incentivize people to do that. I don't suggest doing that, because it should be intrinsic that I am a learner, and that's our mentality here at
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I do, so part of the pumpkin plan program, a lot of you might be familiar with this concept of immutable laws, which are your core values. And when I speak to prospective strategists, I always ask, what are your top 3 immutable laws? And I think that's a great question to ask in an interview, because inevitably, like, our strategists are all lifelong learners, and that always comes out in the conversation. So if you're looking for somebody who has that lifelong learning mentality, who likes to be creative and innovative, ask questions when you're interviewing them that will bring that out and show you whether or not, and you can even ask a question like, tell me about a time where you didn't have the answer to a problem and you had to figure it out. What did you do? And see if they have that sort of, if they said, oh, it was terrible and I had to like ask somebody else to give me the answer, or if they say, well, I had to get creative and here's what I did, right? And how did they respond? Do they respond by looking excited about that and happy about it, or do they get a look of dread on their face? So I think you have to get good at recognizing those characteristics in the people that you're talking to about joining your company. And one thing that I remember reading about this years ago, there are some companies, and they're not necessarily huge companies, that will do some things with their employees specifically around innovation and creativity, where they'll say, for 1 week every year, you get to work on a project of your own choosing, right? And you pick something and you keep them excited about having some choice and like being able to be creative and innovative within their space. So I thought that was really cool, where like companies do different activities to inspire that innovation and creativity.
And support it and keep it going. So I would ask them to also, with the creativity question, and say, and how did your manager support you? Was that helpful? You're trying to see what kind of support they need, what kind of structure
Yeah.
and assistance. Not that you're going to withhold anything. It's just like, how could I enable them in the best way possible? And is that a fit for you as their lead?
Yep, that's true. That's very true. And Adam shared his top 3 core values, which are quality, teamwork, and improvement. So it sounds like he's really clear on, Adam, I'm assuming you communicate that to your team as well, because that's really, I think, important to a team to understand, like, what are our values as a team, because if competition is one of their values and you want collaboration in your team, that's not a good fit, right?
And unfortunately, and you see this more in corporate, whenever there's a merger acquisition, in addition or in exchange of change of leadership, you get this survivor mentality, survivor of the game, and people start gamifying things in a very unhealthy way. That's where you see it a lot, or at least my personal experience has been that, because people are trying to one up each other. They're just really not there for each other.
Yeah. And well, in my mind, that's a problem, because that's not how I want my teams to operate. But like you said in the beginning, some people have a different leadership style and they think competition is healthy, let's say, for their team, or inspires more productivity. So I think you really have to know how you want to inspire your team to work together.
Yep. But that's the great thing. It's your company.
Yes.
You created it for a reason besides not having a job. So it's up to you, right? You get to be creative. Nobody's going to tell you it's wrong, as long as it's legal and ethical. You're stay within the bounds of that. You're good. So it's up to you. What do you want to create? That's really the fun of it. But like I said, I think most of the people who want to be part of something exciting really want that. I'm going to join and I'm going to be valued. I'm going to join and I'm not just a number. I'm going to join and you're actually going to talk to me during an interview, and not to have a computer record my answers, right?
Yeah.
Very disappointed nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something to keep in mind. When I worked in a more corporate setting, I did sometimes feel like I was a I was just a like I could be any person. They didn't care who I
Mhm.
was, right? Like as long as I came in and I did my job and did what I was supposed to do, they didn't really care about me as a person. And that didn't inspire me to want to do my best work, even. Um, so I do think that just having that awareness around what do you think makes a great place to work and why is that important? Right? Why is it important to have a great place to work? Because that inspires the people who work for you to want to do their best work. So thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing like all of these insights with us. So let's see if I can remember the 5 tips. It's
Okay.
communication.
Mhm.
Okay, that one really sticks with me. Alignment, I skipped one. What's in between communication and
The
alignment?
relationships. So healthy
Relationships. Oh, I
relationships.
shouldn't forget that. I'm really big on relationships. Okay. So communication, relationships, alignment, action. No. Implementation. What was the word?
Execution. Close enough. Yeah.
Execution. I feel like I'm testing
Yeah,
myself.
right. It's a quiz. It's a pop quiz.
It is. The funny thing is, like, I could look at my cheat sheet and just look at the answers. So,
Right.
because I'm sure I wrote it down. Yeah. Capability is the last one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you have the capability on your team, which is important, right? Like, you
Mhm.
may not have the skills that you need to accomplish everything. And then you do have to fill that in. But
Exactly.
the first 3 to me seem like you have to have those nailed down first.
They absolutely, they're fundamental. And I would say, if you decide to use the free gift and find out what your leadership voice type is, there's a section in there. There's this very short video that tells you about your attributes. And what happens to us when we get stressed, we kind of slide to the negative ones, meaning we don't have a lot of time. We default to something that can really set off another person and accidentally create a bad situation. So it helps you kind of frame that and go, oh, I should at least have that awareness, right? Your personal awareness so that you don't do that and you continue to move forward. And it's a practice. We never.
Yeah, so that's a whole other topic, right? Like
Mhm.
triggers and reacting versus responding. But if you have people on your team that trigger each other,
Yes, you need to know that.
yeah, that can be an issue too. But if
Mhm.
you're a good leader, if you help, I would think if you can help build that awareness and be like, oh, so and so doesn't mean it this way. It's just that when you communicate in this way, this is how they take it. But if we can communicate differently,
Exactly. And
yeah,
that's why I tell people, kind of with the relationship, rules of engagement. Meaning, if
yes.
Donna has a problem with Brenda, Donna tells Brenda. Donna doesn't run and tell Mike so that Mike can tell Brenda and 4,000 other people that they
Okay,
have
sometimes I do because Mike is really good at intervening.
a
No, but you're right. But I think there is a piece of that that if you have the self-awareness of knowing, you know what, I'm not going to handle this well, that you have a plan B. Like,
Yeah.
I am not going to handle this well, but Brenda can handle this really well. So I'm going to tell Brenda the problem and ask Brenda if she can intervene because I know I'm not going to do it well. Like, what do you think about that? Because I think that sometimes is the value of having a business partner when there's something that you don't feel like you're going to deal with well and your partner is better equipped for it. You can say, I think you need to handle this.
Yeah. Well, so I think that it's okay as long as the rule of engagement is if I'm bringing it Brenda as my business partner, Brenda is also not the business gossip, right?
Right. Right. You don't
That
want it to
that's
be like team A and team B.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't want to create this and then be very cognizant of does that feel like I'm teaming up on the first person, right?
Yes.
So it's situational awareness. But the reason I lay down those rules of engagement is the best practice is go one on one. Who do you have the issue with? And if it can't resolve or you think you need a buddy, pick your buddy wisely and
Yes.
also have to have that in place that it goes nowhere. It's amongst us,
Yeah.
and that careful determination if we need to escalate, because then that really changes the nature of the
Yeah.
game, right?
The other thing that I've learned about myself is that I make rules around when I do and don't respond to something.
Okay.
Because I know if I'm feeling angry or frustrated,
Yeah.
that my response will not be productive. So sometimes, so I'll make a rule like, okay, if I'm feeling reactive to something, I leave it, let's say overnight. And I
Yep.
say, I'm not going to respond to this right now. I'll respond to it later when I'm not feeling reactive. And again, like if you know that you have people on your team that tend to react, that it's good to give them tools, I would think, on like how to control that so they can respond instead of react.
Yep. So one of the things I always, so first of all, email is has a nice cooling period, because you could just set it aside and go, not now, because
Yeah.
I'm going to say something I'm going to regret, right? You can push it to the side. When you're in a meeting, you don't necessarily have that opportunity. So one of the things that I always tell myself as well as my team is, first of all, have a game plan going in, because so and so, they're a little something something, right? So they're going to try to tick you off. Be careful, don't fall into the trap. Control, right? So it's a kind of check with yourself. It's good to have an accountability buddy there too, that can go in and have your silent partner that would trigger, tell you something that you have a safe word that they're going to say and go, oh well, let's talk about whatever, right? They're going to help cool it for you. um and then also, one of the techniques I would do with my team is like, okay, y'all going to go in and you're going to have your buddy, but if you both cannot trigger, and by the way, if you need to vent immediately after your meeting, call me. As your lead, call me. I'm your safe venting place, because
Yeah.
one, I need to let you get it out. Two, we're going to get more constructive and say, okay, now that you had your moment, what can we do with this? What is salvageable in this? What's redeemable? So we can
Yeah.
move forward.
Well, I mean, this all makes me think, like, I hear so many complaints all over the place about workplace drama.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really what this all comes down to, is that workplace drama kills your productivity and it creates turnover. But the people who you don't want to leave are the ones who will get fed up and say, I don't need this, and go
Yep.
somewhere else. So being aware, like sometimes as business owners, we'd rather like stick our heads in the sand and go like, I don't want to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody has to deal with it, or that becomes your culture, right?
Absolutely. And the quote unquote winner, right, of the argument then now sets the tone for your culture. And that's not what you want to happen, because it
Right.
could be very polarizing, and polarizing in the opposite direction of what you wanted. So you need to get in there, mix it up a little bit, as uncomfortable, as messy as it could be, to straighten it out and say, no, 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 we don't stand for that here. We don't do that.
Yeah. Be
Now, I've
really
had people,
clear.
be very clear. Now, I've
Yeah.
had people ask me, when they're not the owner of the company, but just the team lead, what do
Mhm.
I do if the rest of the company is crazy? We're trying to be very healthy. What do we do? And I say, well, you have control of the team. You can create this little magnet, because people are going to wonder why you have no turnover, first of all, because that's what happened to me. I had no voluntary turnover, and everybody around me was like at 25% or higher. What the heck?
Wow.
Why? What's going on? And then they're like, and you guys always seem to like to work together. It was almost jealousy, annoyed when they would say that. Why is
Yeah.
that? You guys have like a book club. Yeah, we do. And they chose the books. I mean, it was so back to the growth thing. It's like, well, that's how you build something. Yeah, it's like, what do you guys think about that? Oh, that's great. Okay, I have some educational budget. If we divide it equally amongst the team, this is how much you have, so that you can go to a conference or you can take a webinar or what, it's like, this is how I can support you in your learning journey. By the way, you're not going to go learn how to do basket weaving, right? Because that's not what we do. But what is it? And that encourages, and so that feeds, and the team comes back from those events, and sometimes they went together, was a bonding experience. They learned, like one of them was learning to do customer journey mapping. Well, we never did that. I said, great, but we're going to do it, right? That's one of our projects. Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, so you guys go figure it out. And it was an awesome conference. They got a bunch of stuff out of it and they came back and reported on it. And they were super juiced about this to share it with everybody, right?
Okay, I think I want to go to that
So
conference
you want to
now.
go to that conference?
That sounds cool. I want to do that customer journey mapping. I feel like I need that. Okay.
Yes.
See, I'm so
Different topic,
easily
different day.
like just off in another direction.
Yep.
No, but what I love about what you're saying is, again, you're making this not just about what can you do for my business, you're my employee, you have to do your job, but you're making it also about how can I fulfill their career dreams and their interests and help align those things with my company. So it really, I think it comes down to creating a culture where you treat your employees and your team members like whole people.
Exactly. And you know, I refer to it as liberating leader. So I'm going to give you the
Yes.
support and the challenge that you need. And the challenge meaning to help you grow, not to help you find all your weaknesses so I can kick you out. Because I've watched somebody do that before. It's like, it was horrible. Why'd you do that?
Ooh, that sounds
Anyway,
bad.
yeah, it was really bad. They just didn't want to go to HR, but they thought, oh, I'll make it so miserable they'll just leave.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen it.
Yeah. But then they don't give any support. So support is, I'm not going to do it for you. So don't come to the lead and say they'll fix everything. That's not it. I'm going to support you and say, well, where are you stuck? What were you thinking of doing? Let's
Yeah.
go through the pros and cons. I'm here as your personal coach. Yes, I have business responsibilities to do P&L and all that entrepreneurial stuff, but I'm here for you as your personal coach. You're not paying for. I'm actually paying you to coach, right? It's the opposite way, but that's how it works. And if your growth means you have to go someplace else because that's on your trajectory, I am for you. Not that I ever want to see anybody leave, but I'll write your references. I will help. I will do, let's role play your interviews if you want, because if that's where you
Yeah.
want to go, that's where I am here for you to help you go to the next step, because I just don't have enough to offer you, because sometimes that happens, right? You get these people that are on these trajectories that are superstar trajectories. My business can't keep up with you. I wish it could, but it can't. Oh,
But
but you might become a client someday. You just never.
yeah, I was going to say when you don't burn bridges, when you really develop relationships and support people in their own journey, a lot of times you don't know down the road how that's going to come back in an even more powerful relationship.
Mhm.
Um, and that's what happens in industries too. If you keep your connections, you don't know, like you're right, like that person someday could be in a position to give you business or to, you know, refer somebody to you, or, there's so many different ways that positive relationships benefit everyone, that becomes a win-win. So on that note, I think we've been talking for an hour.
Oh my goodness.
I'm really good at talking and like keeping the conversations going, but I'm assuming that everybody has maybe other things they want to do
Right.
today. Um, so thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing your wisdom and knowledge. And really, like, you've really triggered like so many thoughts for me about things that I could learn more about as well. Like, for each of those topics, I think there's a deeper dive
Mhm.
that we can take and to gain mastery there and to really understand how we can create growth for ourselves and our teams.
Yeah,
So thank you for that.
absolutely. So thank you for having me. For folks that take advantage of the free platform offer, I will see that you've signed up, and I will reach out to you and offer to have literally a growth plan conversation around yourself or your team, and say, what makes sense. If there's deep dives, and there's a lot of content on that platform, and help guide you through, because it's like Netflix. You could just binge
Uh-oh.
on it if you wanted to.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. It comes with a little warning disclaimer.
Yeah, we just give it all to you at once and you can
Right.
just binge it.
Right.
Well, thank you all for joining us. If you only saw part of this or you want to rewatch it, the recording will be in the Pumpkin Planners Rock Facebook group. And I'm going to pin it as an announcement once the recording is rendered. So, or you could probably find it. There's usually either a videos tab or depending on what device you're on, it might be the photos tab. And then you just look for the picture of me and Brenda with the little arrow and you click the arrow and you'll be able to watch it. So thank you for coming and for joining us. Keep an eye out for my emails and posts in the group because we'll be doing more of these, usually once a month. So we should have one coming up in July as well. And so I will post what the topic of the conversation is. And if anybody watching is thinking, pumpkin plant strategists are awesome and I want to be one too, you can go to pumpkinplanyourbiz.com/join and learn all about how you can become a pumpkin plant strategist. We'd love to hear from you. So, okay, I am going to stop the, well, let's see. I'm going to stop the live stream now. So bye, everybody.